Good evening, good evening.
Evening. Good evening. How are you, Tommy? All right?
Not bad, it's Friday.
Yes. Welcome back as well. You must be good. I think you've been back 3 times now.
Yeah.
Well,
Regular.
Third time lucky.
Regular, mate. Good evening, Paul, as well. You all right, buddy?
Yeah, I'm really good. You?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Good.
So I'm just chuckling because just before I press live, yeah, Jay goes, "What's this? It's my wife's
leggings. They're right on the back of my chair. And they fell on my shoulder. I was like, "What the heck's that?" Because this is not my chair. This is my wife's work chair.
It took him to school with him.
What's that? Picked it up and it's a pair of bloody stocking things, leggings, and I was like, God, just slung them, gone. Bit random.
A bit too tight for you, Jay.
Bit too, definitely too tight for me, mate. I mean, there's no way I could squeeze into them. Not a chance. Bit random that though, wasn't it?
Yeah, you'd be set for ballet, wouldn't you?
No one would watch it though. Jesus. Everything would be on show with them leggings. Jeez.
Oh, there goes the monetization.
There's the monetization. Yeah, completely gone. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hey, we're here, and it's Friday. Can't wait.
Yeah. Right. So one person's missing. There's always one person missing. It's Steve this week. He's out. Is he out? Or has he got people around? I think it's his son's birthday.
Is his son?
I think he's got the family round. He's got the family round, hasn't he? So it's fair enough. Good excuse.
Yeah, and to be fair, he's a regular, isn't he? He's got good attendance. Sound like a teacher, don't I? He's got good attendance.
The only one who hasn't is the teacher.
That is. I'm on attendance report at this rate. I'm here till for the next good few weeks anyway. Probably up to Christmas actually. I like this little reefing run up to Christmas. It's a good time of year, isn't it? And everybody
priorities.
Yeah, everybody starts getting back into the hobby again, don't they? Because they're spending a bit more time inside, and I do love that. You get the buzz back in the hobby. It goes a bit flat in summer, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, because there's loads of other things to do, aren't there? And rightly so. So you just kind of maintain the tank, and that's about it.
Yeah, keep it ticking.
Fight with temperature.
Yeah, fight with that is one, isn't it? Every single time. Yeah, but we're back.
Yeah, we had a couple of weeks of hot weather. That's the only time. Only whole summer. I think it was 2 weeks where the tanks went really hot, and that was it. The rest of it's been a bit of a damp squid, hasn't it? I think.
I've still got issues with temperature, but we'll not go there today.
Have you?
We'll have to talk about that later. Then we have to have an update on that.
Yeah, we'll just do a bit of a roll call.
Yeah, do the register. Who's in?
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, I used to say good evening, everyone, but I got totally sidetracked
by a pair of leggings.
By leggings. Yeah, exactly. It's always something, couldn't there?
Yeah, there's always something. Yeah.
He's probably wanting a pair, Jay.
Yeah, I can send you some if you want. If you want some of my wife's leggings for the next show, you can have some. I think he becomes an OnlyFans then. OnlyFins.
That'd be a great channel, wouldn't it? Has anyone got that as a YouTube channel? OnlyFins.
It's got to be someone's YouTube channel. That's good, isn't it? That.
I don't know.
I could say so, but it's on a different level, so we'll just not go. We'll not go there. Right. Very, very, very fishy.
Oh, Tom! Oh God!
No,
there's no way this is monetized today. It's already gone.
Anyway, we're not sponsored by anybody now.
No, it's all right. About 5 cents I get, and that's about it. That's gone out the window.
Fair enough.
Right. So I'm gonna do the roll call. You have a look to see if there's an OnlyFins channel. YouTube channel.
I don't know if I can search that. Jesus.
Jay laid out with like a mermaid's tail. Anyway, moving on.
Right. Okay, so we got Tony Close first up.
Hi, Tony. Good to see you, mate. Hey, your tank's looking really sweet, Tony. I saw it on Instagram. It looked really nice. Yeah, it's good.
Cottage Reef, good evening to you.
Good evening, mate.
Good evening to you, John. Enjoyed your video with Lou Ekus, Paul. Thank you very much. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's something a bit different. I was more nervous doing that than I am in a live stream. I don't know why. Because you have to kind of film at that end, at this end, and then it uploads to StreamYard, and then you download it. So I'm thinking, what the hell is going on here? picture quality was as good as usual. So something a bit different. So depending on the feedback, I might do some other videos like that. Not with Lou, but with other people.
I've not done my own work. I have not watched it yet.
It is quite a long video. It's the longest.
I thought it was like half an hour. And Reef Docs was only 8 minutes, so I watched this. And I don't watch yours yet.
Well, I'm not surprised. He's got like 50,000, 60,000 subscribers, and I've got about 1 in 10.
No, it wasn't that. It's just the time. I didn't have the time to watch yours. Whereas tomorrow I've got a proper time to sit down and enjoy yours.
Sit down with a brew.
I'm looking. Yeah, that's what you need. You need to sit down with a cuppa.
Yeah, absolutely. And then later on, I'm giving away where was it? All for Reef. If I can find it, just so everyone knows what it is. So it's this here. So giving away one of these. So it's the 500 milliliter, which is the one I started off using, but I've now gone to the powder. It's more economical, to be fair.
Yeah,
so stay tuned. We'll be giving that away later on.
Yeah, you have to watch to the end. Click all the likes, comment, thumbs up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Handstand, then you might be able to win it.
Maybe. Oh, Drippy, he thinks he's winning it already. He's messaged me today. He's put it on Instagram. He's got it on here. He thinks it's in the bag. I tell you, if he wins it, people think it's a con, wouldn't they?
Yeah, he's congratulating because he won last week, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah,
good win, that is.
Absolutely. Right, Skids, good evening to you.
Evening.
And then we've got Exotic Show. That's a lovely torch.
That's a nice torch, yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Nice.
Having a good evening. Yeah. Oh, here he is. This Drippy. Look, have you Rafa? It's not a tombola. It's a church event or something like that, is it?
He's only here on the scrounge, isn't he? Anything for free.
Yeah. You know what? He's probably not on. He comes in at the beginning, says hello, and then comes back 10 minutes at the end.
He knows if he joins at 9:30 now, he'll be in the draw. That's what it is. It's about 9:30, isn't it, every time?
Yeah.
Clear off
that later on. I might do it at 9 o'clock so he misses out.
That's it. Do it mid show. Keep him watching. Tactical.
UKM 120. Thank you for watching the video. I saw your comments, so thank you.
Yeah. Such a loyal follower of all our channels. He is. Top guy.
He is. Absolutely. We've got a few. So, yeah, thank you. Hi, Stuart. And then we've got Mickey Boy. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Mickey.
NG of the Reefer. Good evening. Marek of P. Good evening to you. Julianne. It's a lovely logo of your tanks. Some nice popping corals there.
It's like, yeah, nice coral choice there. Really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Reef 216. Good evening. AB Reef. Tank's looking good, Jay. Yeah, we'll come on to your tank in a little while, but it is looking good.
Thank you, buddy.
Haley Barr, good evening to you. And then Darren's in the house. Hiya, Darren.
Evening.
And then we've got Only Fins.
Come on, is that real? He's just going to set that up.
Fair play.
I tell you, someone's done that quick in under 3 minutes. Oh, that was set up already.
That must have been set up already. There's no way you could do it in that time. Fair play.
That's brilliant.
Only Fins.
And fish lips for the giveaway. Yeah, we'll come back to that. I'll write that down as I'll forget that. Oh dear.
Well, I mean, it's the wheel of misfortunes coming out, isn't it? That normally
does. Yeah, I've already got that set up as well. Just got to put the names in.
Oh, professional.
And then we've got Mac Daz, and last but not least, we've got Critical Reef. So good evening to you. Right, so where do we start? Let's start with you, Jay. Your tank, someone said it's looking good. So how's things with the tank?
Yeah, it's going well. I managed to make a video.
Yeah,
I made a video for what is about 3 months, I think. And I was like, people keep asking, make a little video. And I'm always thinking now, like, what should I make it on? What should I do with the content? And people just ask for like little tank updates. When I'm filming it, I'm like, is anybody going to actually watch this? Because, they've seen my tank so many times. What can I talk about? So I thought I'll just do a little coral spotlight, but I'll choose the ones that are like less obvious. Because obviously people know that I like torch and I like gonnies. So I did the alternative corals, which I really like as well. So I chose, did a little bit on GSP because you know what? I'm a massive fan of GSP. I think it's a bit gonny-like in the way it moves and stuff. Like the coral, the colour pop of GSP is amazing. Yeah, it's really nice, and it doesn't cost hardly anything. I think I got a frag for about, was it £10 from Signature Frags? Only a tiny little piece. My mistake is I put it too high, didn't I? As you can see there, look, it's at the top now, and it's starting to block the weir up a little bit. So I need to, I should have moved it down here really and started it there, then it could have grown up. But yeah, so yeah, absolutely love it. So I've talked about that. I talked about, which other ones did I talk about? Oh, a little SPS one here that's tiny. It's really unnoticeable, really. Sericoma or something like that.
I hadn't seen that one before. I've got to say, Jay, none of your SPS are brown, so that's a myth now.
Well, I know, yeah, that's what I saw in the video.
All really good colour.
I know. I was like, I get so much stick from the live stream here, and there's like, look, the red and the purple and whatever green. There's one that's green as well. So yeah, I was quite happy with my SPS. That was about it really. Just did a little coral spotlight. Somebody's asked me to do like what did I like and what don't I like about what I set up, you know, because I'm like nearly 3 years in. What's gone well, what's not gone well.
Yeah.
It went quite well. And the tank's looking, to be honest, the tank is looking really nice. The corals are really colourful at the moment. So I've taken a few Instagram pictures and stuff. But I think, like, I don't know about everybody else's tank, but mine like goes through like little troughs and peaks.
Yeah, it does.
And then like I'll have like 3 or 4 weeks where I'll just hammer Instagram because my tank's looking really good and there's loads of colour and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, let's bang it on Instagram. And then it'll go shit. And things will lose the colour. I mean, nothing dies, but just like loses its like pop and the colours a little bit. And then it'll
water change on it. Do you water change on it?
Yeah. So I water change I'd say every week, but it's about every 10 days now. And it's about 10%, 12% water change. But yeah, there's just like little dips and troughs with it, but sometimes it looks better. And every time it looks good, obviously I make a video because that's when it's good.
Put it on OnlyFans.
Well, that's it. Put it on OnlyFans, yeah. And it's going well. I'm not really touching it much, not really doing much with it. Doses stay the same, the lighting settings stay the same. And I do dose quite a bit of manganese now and iodine. I do dose quite a bit of those two things.
How much you dosing on both of those?
So manganese, probably 1 ml every 4 days, something like that. It gets taken up quite quickly, manganese, apparently. I mean, I'm not a chemist.
Because you got the Goniopora, isn't it? That's what Laura was saying, wasn't she?
Yeah. And then the iodine, probably about 1 ml every 5 or 6 days, something like that. Again, I used to do 1 ml every 10 days, so now I'm doing 1 ml every 5 days. That's quite a big.
Are you manually putting it in, or is it on a Dosa, Jay?
Yeah, those two are manually because it's 1 ml, so it's tiny. If Steve was here, I'd be taking the mick because he doses like 300 ml.
Everything.
Yeah.
Doses sugar coffee.
He does, yeah. He goes wild. So I think I've upped the dose of that, and I'm also using that CVE stuff. I'm not going to plug it because Steve's not here, but yeah, I use that CVE stuff as well. Yeah. That seems to be. I don't know, doing something as well, but I'm really happy.
I've got a lot of colour on the 170 through dosing now. How often I dose it every other day, maybe.
I dose it every
3-4 times every morning.
1 ml every morning, yeah. I don't know if that's too much. There is actually there is. I think it depends if you got softies, mixed reef, or SPS. I think is it 4 mil per 100 or 2 mil per 100, something like that. It's there. Look.
Yeah.
2 mil. So I've got a 75 litre, so I do 1 mil a day. But yeah.
It's always better to underdo it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, mate, as well. Otherwise, you end up with too much food in your tank, don't you, basically?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's doing something, obviously. I think that's adding colour. I mean, it says colour on it, but yeah.
I mean, Steve says about how much colour he's got in his tank. Certainly on the 170, the colour's improved on mine. And also, I mean, nothing scientific behind it. All three of us are using it. It could be a coincidence. I mean, all of our tanks are quite mature. Yours is 3, mine's coming up to 3 years, and Steve is 5 years. So that would obviously help. If your tank was 6-9 months, may or may not have an impact or not. I don't know.
2 weeks.
2 weeks in, yes. I remember those days. That's such an exciting point. Well, maybe 3 or 4 weeks in when you can start to put stuff in a bit more, but it's an exciting stage, that is. Yeah. So I think it's doing something, whatever it was. I got it for free, so I can't say I paid for it. To be fair though, I don't have any sponsorships, and I don't it's the only thing I've ever had free. So, but I'm just be honest, I did get it free.
Yeah.
I save the bottle when it's empty then.
What's that?
You can save the bottle when it's empty then.
Save the bottle, yeah. I will buy some more, to be fair. I will buy
You're a Yorkshireman, you'll reuse it for something, I'm sure.
Yeah, need to recycle it, yeah. But yeah, I think, I'm impressed with it. It's good. I mean, I rate Eco Balance by Dr. Tim's as the highest. So in terms of things that I dose, the Eco Balance by Dr. Tim's, that's the one that I'd give up. Not that I'd give up any of them. But if I had to give up one, that'd be the last one, because I seriously think that makes a big difference just with stability and health of the tank.
I mean, if you think how many products are out there right now, not just people who are in the hobby for a bit, but new people coming into the hobby, it's like, where do you start? And
it's a minefield, isn't it?
I think it is.
Yeah.
And to get to get evidence from somebody, that's
I really rate that.
Who's using something that actually works. It is good. It is nice to hear, because let's be honest, how many times you bought something, you spent good hard money on it, and you're like, is it going to work? Has it made a difference? I think the key to it is you need to consistently use it to actually give it time to see if it's made any difference or not. Because quite often people expect to pour it in on a Saturday morning, and by Monday morning all the corals have grown an inch or whatever, and they're nice colours. But that's just what people think, isn't it? And then it doesn't work, so they don't use it, and they turn on to the next fad after watching something. And I've been guilty of that myself.
Yeah. I think other things, not just that one thing, other things have to be aligned as well, don't you? Your flow, your lighting, and other things, and start getting into a routine. I'm not sure there is just one thing on its own that would make a difference. I think other things have to be lined up as well, and then they all work together, and then it works, doesn't it? I think on that. I think one of the things, Jay, I think you've probably got on YouTube, I may be wrong, probably one of the longest standing Max Nanos. A lot of people get the Max Nano. You see a number of people that start them off, you get a YouTube channel, and after about 12 months, quite often they upgrade, don't they, from Max Nano, to be fair to people. But there's not many that have gone for a long period of time. There was Reef Builders, weren't there? There was the one they had.
I was about to say Reef Builders. That's
the only other one I mean, there must be some out there, but you don't see many Max Nanos that go beyond a 12-month period, usually.
Yeah, it's nice to see it go into 3 years, to be honest. And just if anybody's new watching the channel, I don't know if there is, but I'd never had a fish tank before, not even like a goldfish bowl. And people say, salt water, you build up to it, as long as you do your own work and listen to people who, and I've a couple of mentors, definitely, but it can be done for anybody who's, thinking about starting. It can be done with just taking time and a bit of research. You don't have to have had fish tanks before to do saltwater, because I didn't do it that way.
No, I agree 100%.
It's the research, isn't it? It's research and knowing who to listen to. And we said before, don't listen to multiple people saying multiple things, because you'll just mess it up as you chop and change. That's the hardest thing, isn't it? Who to listen to.
Like I said on the last stream, though, for me, the biggest two keys are have the time, and have a little bit of you need a little bit of money. It's not a cheap hobby. It's not a cheap hobby. You need to be able to put some money into it, but you need to be able to put some time in it, and how much of each you put into it will dictate the outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I don't think it's so much about how expensive your equipment. I mean, equipment price and stuff, it adds reliability, but you don't have to spend a lot. It's more about, like you said, your routines. Stick to whatever you're going to do. Stick to them routines, whether it's a Dosa routine, a maintenance routine, water change routine. That will go much further than buying the most expensive wave maker or the most expensive return pump.
Definitely.
Just having those solid routines, isn't it? I mean, that's what I think. But
no,
I agree.
That's what I mean. I just think that people get put off by it because they think it's a lot more complicated than it is. And don't get me wrong, we're trying to replicate Mother Nature, so it's not straightforward. But at the same time, there's a lot of people out there in the hobby that will, if they're honest, will say, I made this mistake. And if people listen to those mistakes and don't ignore them, they shouldn't make the same mistake again.
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
It's a bit like the other thing as well, which I said, which was like someone on my Instagram said, what do you think was the core, success? What helped you with the success? And I was like, just look after the little stuff, and the big stuff after itself. I said that the other week.
Yeah, you did the other week.
Stock your bacteria up, stock your pods up, make sure the microfauna's there, and the kind of foundation of your ecosystem, and then all the other bits build on top of that, don't they?
I was thinking back after the last stream about one of my first systems, and I was constantly getting up. Don't like where that coral is, I'll move it. Don't like where that coral is, move it. And constantly put my hand in the tank. I'm talking every other day on a weekend when I first got in the hobby. And you just don't know what you've got in your hands. You don't know what you're doing. You're stressing things out. Just leave it alone, Just be patient. But it's easy saying that now.
It is.
Over the years I've been doing it. Because looking back, people told me to be patient and take my time. And I didn't. I wanted to rush it in certain areas. And I think that's the biggest thing. But you learn from your mistakes. If you don't, well, you'll pay the price ultimately.
Yeah, and it can be expensive, like you said, in this hobby.
Absolutely. Right, I'm just going to go through some comments. There's actually a question here.
Well, we like a question, guys. It's good.
Any advice for moving my tank? I have to move in a month.
Oh, she's got quite a big tank as well, Hayley, hasn't she? Actually, I believe. What size tank have you got, Hayley?
What size tank is it, Hayley?
Because that might make a bit of a difference. And also in the chat, if you can help us out with some advice, if anybody's, because I've never moved the tank, so I'm going to be crap at this. Anybody move the tank?
Well, if you're lucky enough to have a temporary tank, I'd certainly set up a temporary system, 100%, when it comes to moving things. I said that on my original sort of debut was with this behind me. It was a lot easier for me to set this up because I've got tanks in the garage, so I didn't have to rush it as quickly as some people do. So I think it depends on the time frame that you're working to, really. If you're moving out on a Friday and moving in on a Saturday, then that's a hell of a job. It's going to stress things out. But if you're fortunate enough where you've got a little bit of time and you can move things to a different system, then that's a much better option as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, Red Sea Reefer 170.
Okay.
So relatively. Well, it's movable, isn't it? It's not. It's going to be too much.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So if you're moving it from one place to another in another house, so I moved the whole tanking system. I bought it from Derby and brought it back down to Essex, including 250 litres of water. So what did I do then? I had loads of towels. I had loads of spare water already here, heated, because even though I transported 250,
you're gonna
once you pour it,
it
ended up about 180. I don't know. You end up wasting a lot of the water because there's gunge at the bottom of the containers and stuff like that. If it's 170, you could always set up a plastic container with a heater,
100%.
with a pump. You don't need a light, and then you can put it in there, and then you can take your time setting the tank up, and you haven't got to throw the fish in straight away. Whatever you do, I'd have loads of bacteria and put loads of bacteria in as well. So just in case you have any ammonia spikes or anything like
keep the rock wet.
Yeah. So I put them in sacks, builders bags. So builders rubble bags. Don't get the ones that are holes in, obviously. Some of them come with holes. And then put just a small amount of water in, and then tie them at the top, and then you'll have the condensation and the water in the bags, and that will stop the dye. So that's a fair point.
I think for me on that question, I'd need to ask her what sort of distance we're talking, how much time. That's a massive impact on that.
Yeah. So I was all right. So mine was Derby to Essex. That took about 3.5 hours driving back because it was in the afternoon and quite slow as well. By the time you set up all the tank and anything, I think everything must have been out for about a good 5 hours or so. But as I kept them in bags and stuff like that, that was fine. What else have we got from? So 5 minutes up the road, so that's not far.
Happy days. That's a lot.
Yeah, that should be all right, shouldn't it? By the time you take them out and move them and put back in, it's very little time, that is.
I'd even say if you can obviously take the fish out, but if the corals are glued and you're happy with the rockscape and it's safe to move, put a lid on it and move it in water, personally, if it's only 5 minutes.
Yeah, you could do, couldn't you? Because you could.
Yeah, if it's only 5 minutes away, take the fish out.
Empty the water, leave the rockscape in it. You could always get a little spray and have salt water in it, and then spray that to keep it warm. But the thing is, if it's 5 minutes away, you then got to put it on the stand, and you got to salt it. But you could still fill it out with water, though, couldn't you? Because you could
leave half the water in. Leave half the water.
Oh,
in,
I see.
Leave the water out. And leave the rock submerged.
Yeah.
Put a lid on it and just carry it that way, and it's just a lot easier. But again, it depends on distance. I think 5 minutes.
I would leave a bit of water in the bottom. I would leave a bit of water, like you said, Tom, and just leave the sand.
Yeah, exactly. Leave it you don't want to disturb it, do you? Let's be honest. I don't know how old it is. So if it's an established tank, you don't want to be disturbing it. You're going to create a lot of problems for yourself. So I try and leave it, as untouched as possible. You don't want the rock spraying around so it smashes the glass, obviously. So again, that depends on your rockscape. Take the fish out, and like I say, corals maybe, and move it with half the water in, and carry it with half the water in barrels.
Ah, so she's not.
I got a new tank. All right, she's not keeping the tank then.
Ah, right, okay. That makes a bit of a difference.
From the 170 into that. Okay.
So
I think a few people are saying put new. I'd go with new sand, because even if it's only a year, the other one, you've still got some stuff built up, crudding out. I mean, some people put a cup of sand in it. So take a cup of sand and then put it in, because you've got some bacteria in it. Although when BSTV done their testing, actually the old sand, they thought it was detriment to the tank. Yeah, there was hardly any impact. If any of it was negative.
Yeah. The rock's the key. The rock's the key for that. How old's the tank? Do we know?
I think it's a year. A year old. I don't know if that's that tank, or whether it's the 170 is a year old. That one I'm not too sure. The sloshing of the water released the crap into the water. That's a fair comment. Need new sand. Yes, new sand only, old rock. Maybe take the tank night before if you can. Yeah, that'd be a good idea. There's another question after that, but I'll come back to that once we finish this subject. I'm going to do the comments at the top, and then we'll come back to only Finn's next question. Just over a year. That's not too bad. I mean, a year you will get some kind of build up. Also depends what your maintenance is. Do you hoover the sand, that kind of thing? But you will get a build up of crud in the sand in a year.
Yeah.
I would say you will.
I don't know, but she's going to have to keep us posted now, because I want to know how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know how you get on, Hayley. Any more questions that come to mind during the stream, then put them in the comments, or afterwards, I don't know, message any of us on Instagram. Some of the tank.
I don't think I've ever seen a video or anything on like this is how you move a reef tank, because I think there's a bit of luck involved, to be honest.
Oh, 100%. And there's always something that goes wrong.
Yeah, there's a bit of luck involved, isn't there? And then I don't want to burst Haley's bubble, but there's a lot of them that don't like make stress very well. Yeah, because of the stress. But yeah, it's.
I think also depends what you're moving. If you've got fish, then you just got to try and keep the temperature. They'll be all right in bags for that period of time. You'll be okay, and they'll go into the tank as long as there's no ammonia and no nitrite release or anything like that. They'll be okay unless they're stressed out by the whole thing. Of course, whereas corals, you can get that delayed reaction, and quite often you hear people, especially SPS, they'll just lose their coral because of putting it from A to B.
One of the biggest things that I've had over moves over the years has been using air stones. It's a must-have with fish.
That's a fair point. An air pump, yeah.
You need to get yourself an air pump. They're only 10 quid, 15 quid, but they're definitely worth having.
Great call, Tom. It's a good call, that is. Yeah. Don't want anything that stresses. That's what you're trying to avoid stress, aren't you?
And also, when I go into the new tank, probably keep the lights off. I keep the lights off for a period of time as well, so there's less stress for them. Different environment.
Big Tupperware tub you can get from any local, DIY whatever shop. Air stone, air pump, lid on it, obviously, so nobody jumps out. That's always a good start.
And your heater, of course. Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
very good. We wish you luck. Is this all going to be on your Instagram, Hayley? We can follow it.
That'd be good.
Yeah. Is she downsizing then? Is the night? I assume the reef habitat night is smaller than the reef.
I would have thought
the 90s. Yeah.
I
would have said that's 90. I assume that's 90 liters, but
I assume so. Downsizing.
Yeah.
And that's the TMC one. The reef habitat, is that TMC?
I think it is, Jay. I think they are.
Sure. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, there's a couple more comments. I think it was got here. I think Gallery Aquatica did a tank move video. It's 230 liters.
Oh,
really?
Unless the 90 is the size, maybe it's 90 centimeters.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
I'm guessing because I got it badly wrong. 90 is 90 liters.
Is it reef habitat?
Yeah. Because the 250 Red Sea, that's about 90
It's a
centimeters.
3 foot. It is a 3 foot tank. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the DD one I've got is 3 foot. It's 280, but that's because it's slightly bigger front to back, and you've got the sump in that as well.
Yeah, it must be the size. That's a nice size. I love that size tank. 3 foot.
Oh, yeah. I think 3 foot's a nice size.
Compromise between, and ours a bit small, obviously. Mine's a bit small, and then Tom's is just like, bloody hell.
Off the scale.
Where do you bloody start with that? It's huge.
Talking about tanks still.
It's just got the just an ocean in it. That Jesus Christ. That is ace though. It is ace.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Let's see what other comments we've got here. Oh,
90 by 90.
230 litres, that.
Yeah.
Yeah, 50 by 90 by 130. Nice tank.
It is nice size. Okay, we've got Scott's in the house. Hiya, Scott.
Evening, Scott.
Johnny Boy watched your video was a good watch, Jay.
Oh, thanks,
great
John.
Update.
Oh, cheers. Thank you.
Hiya, Woody. And then AB Reef. I haven't seen him for a while. Sold my tank and went back to what I know, which is Royal Pythons.
But the fact that he's watching this live stream means he's still like
he's still got the itch.
He's got the bug on it. He's got the bug. He'll be back. He'll be back with the tank. And to be fair, it's a good time to come back because there's so many bargains on eBay. It's incredible. You could set up a tank for less than 500 quid with second-hand equipment.
Yeah. Absolutely. As long as you're careful and look at the tank and the seals, you can get a full setup, as you say, for 500-600 quid.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, it's a bargain time. Bargain time.
And there's a comment there. What? No more brown sticks in Jay's tank. Unsubscribe.
Unsubscribe. Bloody hell. I'm still not caught bloody Ross up. How's he got more subs than me? That pisses me off.
He hasn't made a video for ages.
He doesn't make videos. He's still got more subs. Jesus Christ. They don't know where he is.
Oh dear. Nicky Boy, this is going back to when you was talking about your tank and what you dose. Need zinc as well, Jay.
Oh.
Have you done I must admit, I need to do an ICP on my tank. I haven't done an ICP for a while.
I've heard about this at Mickey Boy. I did a little bit of research maybe about 2 months ago into it. And I was interested in looking into that, dosing a little bit of zinc, as it were.
Well, that's one thing that I think the hobby teaches people is to have no metals in your tank, but there are certain metals that you do need.
Nice.
Elements.
Yeah, they need.
Mate, they sink like all shipwrecks. They're perfect for bloody coral reefs to form on and stuff like that. Honest to God, whack a bit of metal in the sea and the corals grow on it. It's just like you got to have metals in. Well, magnesium is metal, isn't it?
I think that example is slightly different to sticking a shipwreck into your tank. So someone would get a little metal bow and put it in their tank. So Jay said I should have a shipwreck in my tank.
A little matchbox like car or something in the bottom rusting away.
I'm thinking more of the old-fashioned diver with the old cage. Bubbles coming out.
I can remember when I said to my son, we'll get, because we wanted a fish tank, and he's like, can I get SpongeBob in there? And I'm like, no, absolutely. no way is SpongeBob going in there. I was like, this is a reef tank for crying out loud. But anyway, yeah, it does confuse me that because they say, oh, no metals at all, or no, you know what I mean? But then there's quite a few trace metals that we put in.
Yeah, definitely.
Salt. Yeah, definitely. And then, and in the wild, and obviously the ocean's a huge volume of water, but there's on shipwrecks, you get coral reefs growing. And so obviously there's something about that, isn't there? I don't know what, like.
No, nor do I. Let's move on.
Moving on.
Move on.
There we go, Jay. So Rich Matty watched your video from ages ago about setting up a dosa.
I thought it was called me a dosa then. I thought it was like Tyson Fury.
That's later.
I set up a dosa, used the video. Oh yes. I had COVID during that video. What was it weird seeing? It's empty, his tank can't help. Yeah, it was. There's hardly anything in when I set that dosa up. And some people said, well, why the hell are you dosing when there's nothing in your tank? Which, to be fair, was a good point. But
you was nothing but eager.
Keen. But also, I want to just keep. So I was testing, and I wanted to keep the alkalinity stable. So that's why I put it on. Put the dosa on, and do you know what? I don't know. It must have helped. Still here, isn't it?
Absolutely. Doing something right. And then there's a comment there, never had any Yorkshire tea free jades. That's the only sponsor you would like, isn't it? Yorkshire
That's the only one I've asked for. And the thing is, right, they're not even, like, I tagged them in a few things on Instagram. They don't even have the courtesy to say, like, oh, thanks for that. Like, they're too big for Jay's Real Reef, I think. They don't even acknowledge it. But yeah, it's the only sponsorship we want. I don't want any sponsorship because you can't be honest then, can you, if you've got sponsorship?
No.
I think it's hard. I think it's hard to be impartial when you get stuff free, let alone if you're sponsored by it.
Yeah.
You feel an obligation, don't you? And I suppose then if people get the stuff free and you watch the video, you go, have they left anything out? But they generally, it might have been a good product, but there might have been some downsides and they'll just ignore the downsides.
Yeah. It don't fit with me because like people watch your channel, and if you're saying something's good, they'll probably go out and buy it, to be honest. And people like Tom said earlier, it's your hard-earned money. We all go hours for work. We don't really enjoy it. Most of us don't enjoy work, do we? We go there for hours, earning our money. We don't want to be conned into buying something that's...
Well, it's like that. Ironically, it's like that Ultra Reef. I'm not going to mention any names, but there's so many other products out there that pretty much do exactly what Ultra Reef does, but you end up spending 10 times as much.
Yeah,
it depends on your system and depends on what you're trying to achieve. Ultimately. But for
absolutely.
you know, I'm not plugging that as a product, but for what it does what it says on the tin, and it's a pretty much, it ticks a lot of boxes. So, if your lifestyle is you want to look at your fish tank, every night when you get in from work and not really do much with it, then it's a cracking product. It really is. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah,
I agree. I mean, I was in AAC today. And when you look across the whole one bank of their shelves,
oh my god,
it's like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. It's ridiculous.
And you look at it and you think, where do you start?
Exactly.
Absolutely. If you go back, not that
I guarantee you go with what somebody tells you to get.
You would do, yeah. I would. Because you trust the source.
Absolutely. If you go back to when I first started, there was still quite a few on them, but Red Sea was the main one, and there was some others out there. But now you think how many more there has been even in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's just so many different that do like your basic elements, let alone all, especially when you start seeing all the CVE, and you got this one and that one and this funny name, you wouldn't know which way is up, would you? And often you look at it and I think, what does that do? Because quite often you can't tell by the name what exactly is that you're putting into your tank. Feeding corals? Is it for color? Is it, what is it? Is it a trace element? It's more of a minefield now, I think, on that side to know. And
they're clever as well, because let's be honest, we're all a sucker for a nice label and a nice looking box. We are though, aren't we?
Shiny.
I mean, look at the Aquaforest products when they first came out. It was like this purple and chrome box, and it just looked really aesthetically pleasing. But did it do anything more or less than what you were currently using? Who knows? But you felt it.
Yeah.
The thing with all these like coral foods as well is they feed other things. So if you've got algae, the algae is going to lap it up as well.
Oh,
if you've got
100%.
If you've got cyano, you're dosing aminos or that CV and stuff. You know, it's gonna. They enjoy it just as much as the corals do. So you've got to kind of have a bit of a nuisance.
I can remember when the Red Sea one came out. What was it? What's it? The foundation, the one that goes illuminate yellow, green. ABC.
AB plus. Yeah.
AB plus. Yeah.
It used to be 2-part, didn't it?
It's just like you pour that in your tank and it's just psychedelic, you know. It's like before you know it, you've put half a bottle in it just because it's like, look at this.
The effect.
You might not even need any of it. You know?
It does look cool though.
Exactly. Then you're wondering why you're having to do water changes for the next 2 months every Saturday morning.
That's it.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's a fad. Is what I'm saying. It's a fad, and fair play to the designers. You know, it was an added bonus that you can see where it's going, but
yeah,
doesn't make an ounce of difference, does it? Let's be honest.
No, not at all.
Absolutely. I must admit, I used AB plus for a while, and I stopped using it. I wasn't convinced by it.
I don't think he did it. I used it. I had 1 bottle of it, and I don't see any difference apart from what Tom said. Just the cool effect that it does.
That's what I mean. It's like having glow.
Variations of green.
Yeah, I don't know what it does though.
Right, I just shot down to the bottom, and I'll go back to the others later. So, Jay, can you test for manganese?
You can on certain ICP tests. So you can test. So on this one, where is it now? I've got one in here. I've got a spare one.
What one have you got?
So this one here.
Is that the Reef's Elements? Is that
one? That one does manganese.
Is that who you're sponsored by, Jay?
No, I'm not sponsored by them at all. No sponsors here. So that one does. Triton.
I don't think Triton does.
Triton doesn't. Sure. I've used both the Tritons, the saltwater one and the ICP one, as it were, and it doesn't do it. It does magnesium in the saltwater one.
Yeah.
Not manganese.
And then Mickey Boy saying ICPs always come back with 0 zinc, iron, manganese, vanadium, copper, and low iodine. Check your ICPS.
Mickey Boy, what was the zinc again? What's the benefits of zinc? Yeah, briefly. Be interested. I think it's LPS again, I think.
And then some benefit from dosing iron to a nickel. The problem is you'll have all these minor elements. And I do like all 3, even obviously I just done it. The good thing about that, all the elements are in there.
Yeah.
That's what I like about it, that you haven't got to dose anything else. I must admit, because I've got a couple of Goniopora in there, I do put some extra manganese in there, only a small amount. Now, do I need it? Don't know. But the Gonioporas are doing fine. Now, I used to struggle. If I go back 4 or 5 years ago, I only had about 1 or 2, but the 2 that I had, they died within 3 months. Touch wood, I've had that for quite a while. It's the most success I've had with a Goniopora.
Yeah.
Jay, you've had really good success for the period of time that you've had Gonioporas in your tank.
Yeah, and that was Laura, wasn't it? At Love to Reef, she said about manganese, and then this year I was like, "What's your tip?" Because manganese was like the tip she gave me like 2 years ago. I was like, "What's the tip this year?" And this year it was don't use Rowaphos. So to be fair, I've not used any of that since. But she was saying that Gonies don't like Rowaphos. Other corals are not so much affected by it, but she's saying that Gonies don't like Rowaphos, especially like the other. So Rowaphos was the least effective on Gonies, like the actual, the blue one.
Yeah. The
other like versions of Rowaphos, phosphate remover, she said were more impactful on Gonies. So maybe that helps some other people.
But also you find that people, when they change the Rowaphos, sometimes have SPS strip because you've depleted it and you put quite a large amount, and also it brings the FOS down quite quickly. Yeah. As well, I haven't experienced that myself, but I've seen people say that before. And when I did use Rowaphos, I used to have 2 small reactors, so I'd only change one of them, and then I would kind of rotate it over. But I'd only use it for a short period of time as well. If the FOS was going up a little bit in the nitrates, I'd put a little bit of Rowaphos in just to bring it down into it, rather than trying to do other stuff. And I just found it after about 10 days, it would bring it back in line. And that was when I'd been overzealous with feeding. Yeah, I hadn't done that for 3 years or so in a tank. I put Rowaphos in.
Yeah, I think it's just gonnies she was saying that are just affected by it, but I don't know.
Yeah. Right. So just bouncing back up to the top again. So John, I dosed all for reef and found 2 to 3 weeks ago my magnesium dropped from 1350 to 1200. I dosed Nios Mag and got it to 1290. Lou said he doesn't know anyone who had that with all for reef, or did I hear wrong? I think what he said was he hadn't, for dosing all for reef, magnesium being out of sync with the other two. So he did say something along those lines. Whereas, because I'd said on there that occasionally when I use all for reef, the alkalinity sometimes can be out of balance. So then what I do, I supplement and I just top it up with Red Sea Foundation alkalinity just to bring it into line. But I've only have to do that once or twice. That's in 18 months. Usually, all three of them stay in sync.
So
but,
this is
occasionally the alk does.
This is where I've got a problem with all for reef. So I originally bought all for reef to start my tank off because I watched Nathan Willard. I watched like the whole series of Nathan Willard's.
Of course, he had that, didn't he?
And he run it on all for reef, and I was like, I'll just do the same. He's done it, and then I was like, but you can't dial in your parameters. Individual parameters, yeah.
Absolutely, that's the downside.
Yeah, and I run elevated magnesium. My magnesium is like 1400 at least because of my LPS. They just love like rich magnesium. And that was from that March on Fragbox. He was like, LPS love magnesium. So I've always run it high. With all for reef, you can't buffer magnesium higher than the others because obviously
it's the downside, isn't it?
Yeah, so you have to do what John's doing, which is separately dose that as well as your all for reef, wouldn't you?
I think it depends on the application. Yeah, depends on your application. What you're trying to.
It depends how it's coming up. So how you could do it. So my magnesium does run at about 1450.
Yeah, yours.
But I was used. So every so often I buffered it to get to the level I wanted at. And of course, then if the tank's then taking it all up in equal proportion because that's higher, it will stay higher. But you're right. Yeah. If you want to buffer them individually, then all for reef's not for you. Because on the other tank, I do the Red Sea and I've got the foundation A, B, and C, and that's a hangover from the big tank I had.
Yeah, that's what I did.
And on that, I like that because I had kept my alkalinity at 7, but my calcium was about 400-ish to 450, and I think my magnesium, I always kept my magnesium about 1450, and if it goes higher to 1500, I just ignore it. So that's how I used to run the other tank, and that worked really well. Historically, I've always run my alkalinity quite low, but I never did all the changes. On the tanks I've got now, they're all about 8.4 because the Red Sea Blue bucket is around about 8.4.
Yeah, that's where you want it.
But the big tank, I used to run it at 7. I don't know why. I just started up at 7. Always run them at 7.
It's stable.
So you have to buffer it. If you want different parameters to what you would naturally get in an all for reef, then you do have to buffer it. Which could cause a problem.
Yeah, it could. What are you going to do, Tom? What have you chose your dosing? Obviously not. It's a bit early for dosing, but have you chose what brand you're going to use? And are you going to use Red Sea ABC, or what are you going to?
No, so I'm running a calcium reactor. I'll be running that alongside the Calquasser. So, I'd spent about 2 years. Well, not 2 years, probably a year or so experimenting with Calquasser. I had some ups and downs because let's be honest, it's been quite a talk of the last couple of years, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And to be fair, the original design was for it to be run at night when your lights are off, for it to supplement what water you're losing at night and increase your pH. It was all about pH. But to be fair, there is an argument to say that as long as it's as well as it's increasing your pH, it's increasing your alkalinity.
Right.
So what you're going to do is you're going to try and fine tune the Calquasser with the calcium reactor so that they actually work together, not against each other, which is a lot easier said than done. Because obviously the calcium reactor will obviously put magnesium in, it'll put other trace elements into the water as well, as opposed to just the Calquasser. But the issue obviously with the calcium reactor is it puts effluent in, which lowers your pH because it's more acidic. So then the calcium, quasar compensates for that and elevates it.
Offsets
if I'm making any sense here without confusing people.
Yeah.
So you've got to find the happy medium between which one's, you know, the dominant of the two and which one's the backup. So it might be that the calc stirrer this time round is going to be the dominant one, believe it or not, and the calcium reactor is the one that comes in on standby if for any reason the calc, well, the alkalinity, drops. But I'm just going to have to just monitor that calcium and magnesium are where they should be. Other than that, obviously, as you know, I'm running the KZ method, which I know, Paul, you want to talk about a little bit tonight. But something I've only done on my previous system, I had cracking results. All these blue fancy bottles, it intrigued me years ago, I'll be honest. I spent quite a lot of time researching on the on YouTube and on the forum that KZ have got, which is a brilliant forum for anybody that's interested or, you know, wants to know a little bit more about it. Really helpful forum. And to be fair to the Germans, they know what they're doing with that sort of stuff. And they've been doing it for a long time. Big farms out there, and they run on that system, and it's designed around a low nutrient system, which people are going to cringe, saying I don't want my phosphates and nitrates at zero. It's not to say they should be at zero, but what it allows you to do is target feed corals in a way that you probably wouldn't normally do, because you do that out of what's in your water column, not necessarily putting additives specifically for corals, which is what the KZ method is. So there'll be a lot more. I'll have to spend a lot more time with the ICPs that we've talked about earlier. Again, until it's stocked, I couldn't really tell you what I'm going to be dosing in terms of amounts. It's going to be dependent on what the uptake is, obviously, like any system. But for me, it's like a science lesson. It sounds a bit cheesy, but you know, the thing I like about this hobby is it's everything that I didn't learn at school. I was too, was too bothered about whatever else at school to listen. So it's, you know, I'm just being honest. I like it. You know, I'm still learning now at 40 odd years old, and I think I've got to, again, it goes back to the old conversation of lifestyle and what you can, you know, the time, etc. And I've just got I had a daily routine on my old KZ tank, and it worked. I had better results on that system than I've ever had in the hobby. But that's because I followed a militant process of every day I did X, Y, and Z, you know, and it took 20 minutes, half an hour, but I saw the results and it was a no-brainer. And if you follow it by the book, you will get the results. It's when you start to deviate and cut corners, and if you're trying to deviate and cut corners because you haven't got the time, then it's the wrong system for your tank.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I use things like the Zeo back on the coral snow.
Yeah,
and
coral
that
snow's
helps
really
with
good.
cyano, and it also helps to feed the corals as well. It's got, I mean, your whole tank goes cloudy, and you think, oh my god, and then in about 3 or 4 hours, it totally clears. And I think it works pretty well.
If you've got a lot of fish, you want to feed heavy, then the zeolite system, you know, the media reactor, they're great. And again, it's not rocket science. What it's doing is the bacteria that you're growing, that you're cultivating, it's absorbing ammonia and ammonium, so it's stopping it from turning into nitrite and nitrate. So therefore, you don't have as much of a headache, if I'm making any sense, especially on a big volume of water. Yeah.
I've not heard of that, mate. So I'm gonna have to look it up. I've not heard of it.
It's been going on for a long time, and I think, to be fair to them, they obviously don't want, you know, let's be honest. It's a business. Our hobby is a hobby to us. It's a business to a lot of businesses, isn't it? And, you know, there's a lot of oceans and potions that have got probably something that you can pick up from the supermarket, but you don't know about it because you don't know how to make it. You know, and these guys have been doing it a long time, and there's very little information as to what's in it. But I could tell you from previous experience, the way I've used it, following it to the T, it's worked and it's been brilliant.
That's you always default to something that works. So
yeah, exactly. And what I do won't work for everybody else, just as somebody else doing it won't work for me, and vice versa. You know.
I think they have shot themselves in the foot though on that, because they keep it a secret. It has been donkey's years, but so few people know about it. Not many shops actually stock. I mean, if they do, they stock maybe 1 or 2 of the bottles, like the Zeo. I know a place that does the coral snow and the Zeo back and a couple of others. It's only local to me, H2O Aquatics, to do the full range. They've got a whole cabinet that's full of the full range of their stuff, but there's not many to do it.
Well, it's going back to what I said a second ago about the Orpha Reef, and again, I'm a big fan of the Orpha Reef. So I've used it and it's worked great for me on an old system. But if you're wanting to target, you know, certain trace elements and certain types of coral based on what you've got in your system, then it's great. You know, it really is great. And you don't actually, even though some of the bottles aren't cheap, they'll last for ages. Some of them, I've had some of them for months. You know, so it might be a bit of an investment to start with, but longer term, you know, for me, it pays dividends. It does. There's a lot of products as well that they do that you can use alongside other systems as well.
Yeah,
which I would definitely recommend. The coral snow being one of them. You know,
Zeoback is pretty good.
Zeoback 100%. Yeah, especially if you don't want to wake up in the morning, your tank's covered in, you know, cyano or whatever. Definitely.
Sure. Right. Okay. Let's go on to a few more comments.
I know it sounds silly, but it's almost like having another skimmer in your tank. It almost acts like having a little bit more beef in terms of, you know, nutrient export. Or in this case, really, it's designed around prevention. So preventing it to become a nutrient, if that makes any sense.
But bit of a sidetrack, mate, but that Copperband keeps going backwards and forwards on your tank. Every time it goes through, like, where there's the space, mate, it looks so awesome, like the silhouette.
I've come up with a name for it. I've come up with a name for him, and I don't know why it came from, but we're going to call him Clive.
Clive, yeah, that's cool. He'll come back in a minute. He'll come back and then goes all the way across to the side. But as soon as he goes in the arches, he just looks ace, like the silhouette of him.
Yeah, he's a bit of a smooth operator, Clive the Copperband.
Don't ask John for any tips with Copperbands in.
He's gone into hiding now. You said that he's shy. I don't know where he's gone.
I haven't seen him.
Yeah.
Right, I'm just going to go through a few comments.
No, I've just wound him up.
And then Tom, I'll come back to you about your fish.
All right. Okay.
Lovely that Copperband.
Right. Okay. So I didn't realise there's a Crackner this Sunday. I don't know who's going to it.
Is there?
Yeah.
There's Copperband now. It's doing its lapping. Going back.
It's on a string.
Mate, is it even real? Is it real, that one? It's on a little motor just going back. Yeah. How many laps will the Copperband do by the end of this live stream? That's it.
But in all fairness, though, sorry, I'll read that comment. In all fairness, what I did with him, and again, this is just experience, because I knew I was moving
back
him.
again.
Jay, will you shut up and let us have the live stream? For God's sake.
I need to put my hand up like I'm in class.
It's like shiny, isn't it? It's just like a tennis.
I'm just getting distracted by it. That's all.
There you go.
He's done a route. Yeah, he's going back on his track.
Right. Tom, you was going to say.
All I was saying is, anything else, Jay?
I don't think so, mate. No.
Okay.
There
will be in a minute.
There'll be something else.
What I found, to be fair though, what I found with him, and this is, I don't pretend to be any expert with fish, but he will only eat brine shrimp. Mice is not bothered. And I think it's genuinely due to the size of the particle. I just genuinely think he struggles to eat it, because when I put him in last Friday and I got some mice, I can't remember what else I was trying to feed him. And the selfing was fine, but he was not bothered. I was like, oh Christ! So I flew out to my local LFS and got some brine shrimp. Just from memory, that's what he's bothered about, and he just eats like a pig, but only brine shrimp. And obviously, I know Steve did a video on making old food, and I've got stuff that I'm gonna use. But at the minute, because obviously the circumstance of adding new fish systems, white spot, etc. I'm just keen on feeding them as much as I can and monitoring the ammonia levels, which touch wood have been zero. So these guys are getting fed at the minute about 5-6 times a day, believe it or not. But little and often.
And you got the water volume, haven't you, to do it? You got the water.
Yeah, I've got the water volume. Well. I've got the equipment, the skimmer, etc. So, and again, obviously the KZ stuff's been running now for over a week, so that should be having some impact as well.
They don't know how lucky they are. They've got so much water to swim in there. It's brilliant.
Well, we'll come on to it probably in a minute, but it's not been all rose in the last week or so. I'll be honest with you. There's been a couple of ups, but there's been a few downs as well.
We'll come back to that in a minute. I want to catch up on the comments because I'm miles behind as usual.
Crackner. Didn't even know it was happening.
No, nor did I. So this one, so Mickey Boy, Google's your friend. You all dose into your tanks, but you don't know what it's for. Do the work and find out what's for. I must admit, when I first started, if someone had recommended X, I might have gone for X and I wouldn't really have thought about it. But now I must admit, I am more conscientious about actually what is that and what does it do?
Yeah, yeah.
That's a fair comment.
That is a good point.
There we go. We've got Darren. I'm debating the moonshine method on the bigger tank with the element dosing.
I've heard about the
mainly
moonshine
sees
method.
USA,
Yeah.
Canada reefers. Not heard of it. What is it?
No, I have. I've heard about it. I've not watched it yet. It's something I'm going to watch. I keep meaning to watch it over the weekend or so. But it's a little bit like, well, again, I'm not going to get into an argument, but they like to experiment, our American friends, don't they? 1 minute it's couch stirring, next minute it's couch slurry. So again, yeah, I think there's pros and cons, to be honest with you. But I'd definitely research it. I'd definitely do your research. And I think really when you're doing that, you need to take research from people who've actually had success from it, not who just telling you what to do, is my advice.
That's true. Fair point. Fair point. And there's a few people there talking about their elements. 450. So Johnny Boy's got KH of 11, 450 and pH 8.3.
That Coral Plus one there. That's the Red Sea salt that's about 11, isn't there? Coral Plus, is it? Or whatever. Coral,
yes.
Something.
Coral Pro.
Pro, that's
the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 11 or 12, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. It's really high, isn't it?
1450.
Yeah, magnesium. Get it up, lads. Yeah. Magnesium.
There you go. And NG Reef, JR Run All for Reef. I have 450 calc, 1470 mag, and hover around 9 DKH. I do have to buffer it at the beginning. But it's now settled, which is, I think, it's the point earlier on. Yeah, you buffer it to where you want it to be, and then it should consume, unless you've got anything else in there. Let's take. Yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense. Let's think of that.
One thing I got told a few years ago, believe it or not, this might be a bit controversial, is to find a couple of different brands of salt with different elevated levels and alternate from one to the other, so that you're not constantly depleting in certain elements. So you can actually have slightly elevated with using a different brand, if that makes sense. So you don't have to supplement it with other elements.
I haven't heard of that.
Just throwing it out there.
I'm not trying that.
No,
just saying.
I'm not rolling the dice on that one. I'll stick to what is it? Tropic Marin Pro Reef, is it? I don't know. Yeah. The white box bucket.
Yeah. I've used blue. I must admit, I started off with Coral Pro because that was what was recommended to Mickey Boy's earlier point. I bought my first tank from Charterhouse Aquatic, so that was like 9 years ago. And I bought a tank, and they actually recommended and sold me the Coral Pro, the salt. And obviously that's I didn't have a clue. 12 or 7 didn't make no difference. I was only going to keep softies. And then actually, because I was moved on to the bigger tank, and I was dosing, so it didn't really matter because I was dosing quite a lot of elements every day. If you're putting in at 12, you're doing a 10% water change, it's not really going to do much to your alkalinity overnight. And then I moved to the blue because I was at 7, I was dosing quite a bit, and I think the blue was quite a bit cheaper at that time than the Pro. So I used it for about 2 years, up to the blue. But I must admit, I wouldn't move unless I don't think I'd move away from the Red Sea blue, probably because it's habit. I've used it, it works for me, so why would I change?
Well, that's like saying what toothpaste do you use? Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
That is true.
Do you swap it around? You probably do swap it around a bit, don't you, toothpaste?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, point, actually. Can we have a poll tonight on something? I just fancy a poll.
Yeah. You want a poll? Right, okay.
I don't know what I'm like. I just fancy
do the poll, but it's got to be yes or no. And I can change it. Right, then what's the poll then, Jay? I'm putting you on the spot.
I was going to do a poll on I don't know really. I just want one.
So you put me on the spot. I can do the poll, and now you can't come up with a poll.
Well, I was thinking,
expecting me to say, "Oh my god, I can't cope with."
Well, I was going to do one on I don't know which salt do you use, but that's a bit boring, isn't it? Because no one really cares. I can
only answer 2
things. Because whatever salt you use, you're not going to change it really, because you like it. Yeah. Because once you use it, I can't have about once you're in with salt, aren't you? That's the thing, I think.
Jay, I can't have 10 answers. I can have 2.
10 answers. All right.
I can't do that. Right, so got me a question with 2 answers.
Let's do water change or no water change.
Tiny poll. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Steve's not here, so that's good. This will be 100% water change. And then when he comes back next week, we can tell him that we knew he was wrong. In fact, you're not doing water change, are you? Is that what you said? I'm sure you said you weren't doing water change, didn't you?
No, I am. It's part of 100%.
There you go. There's a pole, and you should be able to.
Yeah, it's just I like a pole. It's just adds a bit of
Nice
fun.
and simple. Do you water change? Doesn't really make sense English-wise, but hey.
It's not even got a question mark or a capital letter.
Fit with you, Jay. It's do you wear your wife's ties?
Do you wear your wife's leggings? Well, not yet, but 10 o'clock's coming around pretty soon.
Time yet.
Time yet. The night is still young.
After midnight, I turn into a pumpkin.
The time is still young.
That's what you wear when you read time stories.
91%.
This is getting worse. Oh my God.
Right, we'll keep the poll rolling for about another minute, and then we'll see where we get to. Right, so what we've got here: DIY coal snow for the win, calcium carbonate, RODI, and bacteria.
Yeah, I've heard that.
With clarity too. There's a lot of DIY stuff you can do out there, can't you? Because a lot of the elements you can do DIY. I must admit, I've not had the time, the inclination, or the bottle to do it. I'd rather buy it, but I can understand why people do the DIY. It's just not for me. I don't trust myself.
When I was playing around with the calcs class last year or year before, I ended up buying a massive bucket from APC Pure. If anybody knows them, like the online pharmaceutical grade stuff, and it was like a fraction of the price, and it was a lot more potent, and it did a lot more for pound for pound. I think you've just got to be a little bit daring. I know it sounds a little bit crazy, but sometimes you have brand sort of safety. I think really with certain products.
Absolutely.
And when you're a little bit more confident and comfortable with it, you need to sort of experiment a little bit. And there's a lot of things out there that, again, I'm not going to mention names, but are just diluted versions of something you could probably pick up for a fraction of the price, but you're scared of doing it because it's not got that label on it.
Yeah. I mean,
right.
People say that about no-pox, don't they? I mean, I've used no-pox for years, and actually people use vodka.
Yeah.
And it does the same thing. It's carbon dosing, isn't it?
Yeah, carbon, exactly. Yeah.
How do the fish not get drunk though? I don't get it. They've got to, like the fish have got to feel a bit.
Well, you wouldn't know though, would you? Look at a clownfish. They're drunk most of the time anyway. Their behaviour.
No way it can pass through a fish without affecting its like. It can't. It's got to. They've got to feel a bit of like being drunk.
Yeah,
You wake up in the morning, there's takeaway. You wake up in the morning, there's takeaway boxes all over.
That's it. Half-eaten kebab on the sandbed.
It's called dinos.
Yeah, dinos. God. Anyway, vodka dosing. We've had that before, haven't we?
Right, we've got something else for
OnlyFans. Yes.
How many people in the chat have pre-owned tanks? And I think he's put a comment because obviously I missed that one. So
that's
the
next poll. Well done, mate. That's the next poll.
I'm going to get on to that. So while we're doing that, I'm trying to multitask here. There you go, Tom. Try this krill. Right, and I'm going to find the poll and end the poll. Right, I've ended the poll.
100%.
Oh, there we go. No, we got 17 votes. 88% was yes, and 11% was no to a water change. So, 10% don't do a 10%.
I can't believe Steve's watching this whilst it's his little boy's birthday.
He's done multiple entries, hasn't he?
He's got his wife to vote for him as well.
And do you think, I'd be interested to know from the people who do the water changes, how many are doing the water changes because there's a problem with the tank, or how many are doing it because it's routine and they feel it's the right thing to do?
Yeah. I think it's mostly routines for most people, I reckon.
Yeah, I think so.
Good maintenance routine, I think. Hey, Black Pearl Reef, have you seen Ross? Because he's Scottish, isn't he? Black Pearl Reef. He lives up that way. Where's Ross?
Right, I've just done another poll. Do you had a pre-owned tank? And I've got a question mark as well, just for you, Joe.
Good, yeah. Grammatically accurate, that is as well. Got a little...
Is it? Oh, thank you.
Yeah, very good.
Right, let's see what else we got. Tom,
this one's a bit more. This one's a bit closer. This one.
Dry mices and pellets. That must be the Copperband. That's right. Yeah, hunger strike after 11
Don't
months.
ask him about Copperband.
Yeah, absolutely. Black pearls in the reef. Make the poll. Should Jay have a topic in mind before creating it?
Yeah, that could be a good idea.
Yeah, I don't think you wasn't expecting me to say yes, was you?
No. Well, no, because you're quite confident with setting up the polls. It's Steve that can't do the polls, isn't it?
Well, his head explodes if he does anything other than comments. His head explodes, isn't it? I mean,
I just like to hear like audience participation and different views. It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
How many times a week do you go on the sunbed, Jay?
None. Honest to God, right? It's this frigging light.
Is it that as a CV you put in the cornflakes?
It's this light, I'm telling you. It's the light. Honestly.
Okay.
Never used somebody in my life.
So Russell's gone. Wife abandoned him. He's got to watch.
You can be quiet. Oh my God, she's shouting from the other room.
So how many times did she said? 3 times a week?
She just went, lie.
I didn't hear that.
No.
I'm trying to think.
Where's my leggings?
I know, yeah, probably. Quick, get them off.
So she doesn't say, "Where's my knickers?"
Oh my God, no. This is your. You're not earning any money out of this. Paul.
I know it's too late. You blew it in the first
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Let's go. I think most people buy brandy because it comes with instructions. It adds a bit more confidence to what you're buying.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Fair comment.
Fair comment.
100%.
Yeah. And then there you go, Jay. They aren't knocking back shots of vodka. It's a fair point.
That is true, but it's definitely going to go through a minute.
Can I drink no pox and coke instead of vodka?
No pox and coke.
That's a posh one. It's expensive, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can't. There's no pox. Isn't just vodka, is it? No, sure not. No.
No, it's. I mean, I can't
There's something
remember
else and
what's in
vodka.
it.
What is it?
No, it's not vodka. It's something else. I can't remember the chemicals that are in no pox and vodka. Yeah.
Right.
Let's go back to the poll.
It's okay for fish to drink.
Drink and drive.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to end that poll. End poll.
End poll. Hey, we're enjoying these.
Oh,
Got 2
where's it
polls
gone?
now.
There we go. 52% yes, 47% no.
Yeah.
Have got currently or have owned in the past. So
I've put have or I've owned in the past.
It's not a clear question, Tom. Like you're right there. It's not very clear the question.
Well, it is if you read it.
Oh dear.
That's a good poll that was though. That's very close. I voted no.
Majority of my tanks have been used.
One. I voted no because I've never had one, but I would have one.
Yeah.
So that's a different kind of question, isn't it?
Yeah. So the 170 is used, and I paid 300 quid for it, and that was quite a while ago. So that was I don't know how much the 170s were then, probably about 900 quid. And that came with the return pump, and I've still got a return pump running, and it's just a plug and play return pump, no fancy, just so
our first system was second hand, but I'll be honest with you, if it hadn't have been through somebody I knew in the hobby who said second hand, I would never have thought about buying a fish tank second hand. I just don't know why. I just don't think you think about these things. If you go on Facebook Marketplace these days, Christ, you can buy pallets of bricks and everywhere. If you want, there's everything out there, and you just don't think about it.
Well, like Hayley could be selling her tank, seeing as she's moving, she's upgrading, isn't she? Hers will be on next, that 170, possibly.
Yeah, I feel sorry for people that were second-hand tanks because they just don't get out. You don't get anything for them these days.
No, you take a big hit if you're selling one.
You do
a big gain if you get. It's just the seals, like Paul said. You don't have to just check the seals, wouldn't you? That's the thing. That's the only worry.
Absolutely, yeah, I think so. Especially if if it's full, you still check the seals. But if you're buying one that's empty already, which you don't know, do you? Because you look at the seals and you don't know what's happened to them. That's the problem.
There were a couple I would say probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, there was a big craze of people who were going around buying what they called breakdowns, weren't they? People selling up, buying the tanks, breaking, and even that's dried up now. People have stopped doing that as much now.
Yeah.
There's no market for it. And
that's
also,
what I mean.
You get the breakdown and you try and sell the kit. You used to be able to get maybe about 2/3 But roughly, you could get. Now you're lucky if you get 50%.
And these people just end up with all the tanks because nobody buys the tanks.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It must stress the seals as well when you empty and fill up tanks. Like if you do it a number of times. Never thought of it really, but I just think it must cause some. Like if you're taking all that pressure off and then putting it all back on again and taking it off, and if you like filling it and emptying it and stuff.
Yeah,
sell it.
I'm just thinking about the power heads. If you think you got the power heads and the power that actually comes out of the power heads nowadays, and a lot of people have got a hell of a lot of power heads, and you think the pressure that's going from both ends, just because before it just sits there, so you could say, a lot of the pressure, if they're flat, should be down, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
But if you've got, and I'm no scientist of, physics or anything like that, but just from the fact that you're pushing them from side to side, that must put a lot more pressure on those side panels. And
it's not just that, but the majority of the stuff these days that you buy that's pre-packed, like your Red Seas, water boxes, etc. None of it's braced, is it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how much weight is that behind your head there? It must be.
My head.
Behind your head there, mate. The weight of that water there must be like a ton nearly. Jesus.
Well, it's 1,400, so that's what, 1.4 tons, isn't it?
What? Oh my! So that's a car and a half behind your head.
No, it's not, is it? Is it?
No,
litres not.
I don't think so.
No, it's not 1.4 tons. I'm going from metric to
can't be
imperial, aren't I? No. 1,400 kilograms.
Mickey boy Mick will know how much it is, but it's a lot of weight there, a huge amount of weight. Have you got reinforced floor or something? Or is it on concrete floor?
Concrete floor.
Yeah, that's
How much does the tank weigh on its own? Because you got the tank, can you? Because you got the tank, and then you got the water. How much does the tank weigh? Mickey would know, wouldn't he?
Yeah. It must be getting up there to like a ton, nearly a ton.
Yeah, good question. I can't answer you.
Okay. Yeah.
All I know is it's not moved yet.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully,
it's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Because I think
what concerned me more though was Mick. To be fair to Mick, what he said was the front panel will actually move slightly, which concerned me.
What?
Apparently,
as in move a little bit.
Yeah. Apparently, it will have.
Oh my God.
No, seriously, ask him and he'll comment because seriously, that piece of glass is 2.8 meters. So yeah, apparently it
flexes.
It will flex. It will flex. Yeah, is exactly.
It's a bit like buildings. So I work at HSBC in the tower. I used to work on the 37th floor. When it's really windy, the building moves. And you can hear it creaking. I used to hate going in there in high winds, and they're built like that to move, and it's really eerie. You're sitting there, and you can hear it all creaking.
Flexing.
And you just think, oh no, not like this at all.
Yeah, I would not enjoy that.
On the 37th floor,
I think that there'll be some science behind the fact it's used with silicon, won't there? Let's be honest, it's a flexible, sealant.
Has yours got braces on the top then, along the top that you just can't see?
Euro. Is it across as well? So you got it around the edges and across.
Got it around the front and back and the sides, and then across in.
Yes, a Euro brace. Is it Euro brace, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Right.
But again, you don't see.
Got an answer. For the what is that? Just the tank though.
Oh, there we go.
That's the tank, top tank, including glass.
So that must be.
So it's 1.5 ton. Yeah, you were right, Paul.
Okay. Wow.
If I need to move it, I'll let you know. Come around again. Just the two of us, one at each end.
One thing I know for sure, you're not decorating that room for a while.
Do you know what though? All jokes aside, the 625 that I used to have in this room that I've moved. Wow! You know, when I came to move it, that was so heavy. That 625 double XXL braceless. Wow!
Yeah,
that was just a nightmare. The flooring that we put down with the laminate flooring put over the top of the vinyl we've already got. I had to lay a track like a railway track, and we just had to keep sliding it to the door because neither of us could lift it. I don't have a clue how I lifted it in when I bought it during COVID with the brother-in-law, but crikey, I think it must have been excitement that got the tank in the first place. By the time I got it out,
adrenaline.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's the only thing I think we're buying second hand is you've got that risk.
Yeah.
Of moving it. You've got to have the transport, the arms and legs to lift it.
Yeah.
You know,
Chipping it.
Not
Yeah.
That is a worrying. I mean, I have to find the photos out because people think I'm winding them up here. But in the house the old house we used to have, I put a 9-foot tank in the cellar, and we couldn't get it down the stairs, so we cut the floorboards up and joists and fed it through the floor. And seriously, seriously, I've got photos of it somewhere. I will send them.
Nuts.
So people,
that is
the things you go to. Yeah, things you go to.
Definitely.
That tank, believe it or not, the front and the sides of that tank was one piece of glass. It was bent. It was unreal. I've never seen it in the market. Yeah, and it's still in the house now that I rent out. So he's not putting a fish in it, but yeah, it's not.
Just sits there.
It's there.
Nice.
You do see pictures of people taking out windows and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Because the standard door is what, 2 foot-ish, isn't it? And so and then also you get in your passageway and then you got to turn the corner. There's no way you can do that with a big tank. I always think about when people put them on their sides or on their ends. You're thinking, Mickey boy, know whether that's safe or not. But
the only downside to the Red Seas for me, and I've had a couple now, is obviously the pipe work is stuck in the weir, isn't it? So when it comes to moving it, you've got to lay it on the back edge. Is that right? Yeah, to be able to transport it. You can't lay it on its base because you've obviously got the pipe work, haven't you? Sticking out of the weir.
So what I did, I put pieces of wood. I did it on the 450. I put slats of wood across because you can't put it flat because you damage the bottom of it. So so I had some 2x4, whatever it was, a 4x, and you got to make sure it doesn't slide as well as the anything else. So it's you can't lay it flat because of that. But right, let's move on. Johnny Boy's saying 3 foot is 500 kilograms with the water.
Yeah.
Wow.
Serious weight. When I bring, I mean, mine's a tiny tank, but I bring all the buckets up and think, God, there's a lot of weight just in this little tank here.
Yeah.
And anything like what you've got there, Tom. Jeez.
Yeah. And there goes Scott saying, what stresses the silicon with a used tank is it's been dry for a while. Wouldn't touch
wet and
anything
dry,
that's been dry for over 6 months. Oh, really?
Yeah. Right. Okay. That makes sense as well, though.
Yeah.
I think the other thing with the silicon is how bad the silicon is. I mean, we talked about this on the stream. When you clean your glass with a magnet or a scraper, quite often you can take
you can nick it
away at it quite a lot, can't you?
Yeah, that's what I like about these, because they've got the plastic armor. They're armored along there, so you can't. Yeah. The only thing is that the back, where the back glass, that isn't. So that piece there, they haven't done that, but it is all the way along the bottom and all the way along here. The only downside, because it's a small tank, you got a massive seam there. So it doesn't look very clean, which is the downside.
To be fair to Mick, though, he has said over the years there are some cleaning products that people, lean on because they're there in front of them that can dissolve silicons as well. So always be aware of that, because that's the last thing.
Oh, really? What, in terms of when they're cleaning the glass?
The glass.
And then you end up cleaning, this, obviously, because I can feel the silicon there. Yeah.
It makes sense, doesn't it, when you think about it?
Yeah.
And all you're doing is weakening it. It won't happen overnight, but you're gradually just weakening,
just eroding it over time, aren't you? It's just going to disintegrate, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then we've got Black Pearl Reef. I do like the DIY aspect of the hobby. When I had freshwater tanks, I kept blue bolt cardinal shrimp and ended up making my own shrimp salt mix. You think marine salt is expensive? Shrimp salt is £15 for 200 grams.
Wow,
that is it. That's a lot. Wow.
Might be having shrimp. In fact, I've got shrimp, but fresh. Obviously, that's expensive. That is for them shrimp.
It is, isn't it? Right, and then we're nearly caught up. So,
good question, John. Ironically, the timing was absolutely perfect, because I put an order through for a few things the other day that I needed, and I don't know why I completely forgot about algae magnet, even though a couple of people had recommended this one. It's Steve was one of them, and the last stream, what time we started at 8, didn't we? And at 20 to 8, Amazon driver turned up on the door and delivered this to me.
Exclusive.
There we go.
Unboxing.
The tons of care magnet. So that's what I've got as of today.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, it looks impressive. I've got it on. I've actually got it on because, you know.
Is that the XXXXL one or something?
It's got to be a bigger one, isn't it? Because of the magnet.
It's the strong one. It's a strong one. But no, it's quite impressive, to be fair, so far. Yeah, it looks good. So we'll
and it stops you scratching the glass as well, doesn't it? Because doesn't it? Well, the sand fall away as you go right down the bottom.
Yeah. And because I've got the bigger part, you know, the bigger substrate, the gravel bottom.
Yeah.
It stops me having a load of cloud and a load of sand blowing everywhere. So yeah, it's good. It's literally here at the minute.
Oh, it's in the tank. See, that was another thing. That was another debate. Do you leave it in or take it out? Remember that one, Paul? In the early days, someone actually had a go at me about it, and I was like,
"What for taking them out?"
No, for leaving it in, because I left it in the top corner, and everybody's like, "What are you doing now? You can't leave it in." So ever since then, I've took it out. But
sometimes I take them out, and sometimes I leave them in.
Surely they can stay. Surely they can stay in, can't they?
We've lost Tom. He's gone.
Surely they can stay in, can't they, Tom? I mean, obviously you're leaving yours, and that you mean?
Right. I think. Do you know what? We need a poll.
Get your poll out.
Leave it in or take it out.
No, that's it. I used to leave mine in as long as possible, but now I have to take it out because people said I was doing it all wrong.
Can I change this?
Oh dear, this channel's just gone down a level.
Gone west.
There we go. It's Jay.
Fish Palace. This is why I never have it on mine, mate. To be honest.
There we go. Right. What do you do? So this is you're gonna hate the English on this one. What do you do, in or out?
Magnet.
Okay. There's yes, exactly. Yeah. Because we're talking about magnet.
Magnets.
Right.
Sorry, magnets. Back to the topic.
Your scraper. Yeah, your scraper. Because I assume, Tim, you're leaving. Sorry, Tom, you're leaving yours in, aren't you? Paul's.
Oh, Tim. Oh, what are you talking about? Who are you talking
about?
To?
You know when you go see your grandma, she calls you every name apart from your proper name. She's like, "Oh, you Dave, John, Jay." Oh, finally get there.
That's when you've walked it. That's after you've walked into the wrong house.
Where's me nan gone? Where's me nana?
Yes. For God's sake.
No, to be fair, to be fair, that I literally before live stream it came 20 minutes before, and you know they're not, and these things aren't cheap, are they? Let's be honest, they're not. No. And yeah, I'm quite impressed. I mean, the other one that I really do like is I don't know if he's got one of these. Is the EIM do one, but it's quite a long sort of scraper, about I don't know.
I like mine.
60, 70 centimeters long.
Jay's got one.
Yeah.
Is yours longer than mine, Jay? Oh dear.
He's gone. He'll be back in about half an hour.
No,
He's here.
So I had the what is it? The flipper, the floating flipper one. Yeah. And it just didn't have enough traction, so now I used that one.
All right, yeah.
That's a car scraper, isn't it?
That's a de-ice your windscreen.
I'm not actually touching the tank with it. Yeah, I use that.
Would you just look at it?
Scratches his back with it.
No, it looks like I'm scratching the outside of the glass, but I'm not actually doing it. I do it on the inside, and I actually think that this is better than them little hand ones because you can get some real proper pressure to rub it.
Hey, look, Jay, you haven't seen it. Look, pair of tweezers.
Oh, yeah.
For what? Jesus, they're a bit big, aren't they?
Yeah, I've had some like that.
Don't go put your hands in.
They're rusted as well, I can see from here.
There they are, yeah.
So that's got
I don't leave them in the tank 24/7, but they do get a bit of salt water on them. They have to. You just put them in.
Or you just pick stuff up with them or something. What are you doing?
Max Spec do the plastic ones, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want to put your hands in?
Yeah, that's quite good, to be fair. Don't know about metal. I think I prefer plastic, to be fair. I mean, they're rusted as well.
It's not gonna damage the tank when it's been in there about 30 seconds.
Well, I don't know.
To be fair though, years ago, one of the first systems I had when we moved to this house, the tank was established. I've been running it 5-6 years, and I was sending ICPs off, and I was getting crazy levels of metals, not the good levels. I mean, silly crazy.
Yeah, dangerous.
Checked everything under the sump. Made a Dosa stand out of wood or plastic. I can't remember because the Dosa stand was metal. I just got rid of that because I was eliminating everything. And it wasn't until we moved the tank and we started to drain it, and I'd got corals on the frag tray, and it was the magnet. It was the magnets on the frag tray. I'm going back a long time ago. I'm not going to mention brands and everything, but you clean the glass. Everything when you clean the glass, most people clean glass around the.
Mention the brand. We want to know which one it was.
I'm not going to mention the brand. Long time ago though, but yeah, but I did everything, underneath the sump to eliminate alloy or metal, and it turned out it was the magnets. So you never know these days.
Right. so I've ended the poll, and it was
in or out.
In or out.
In 68, out 31. There we go.
Okay.
So everybody told me to take it out on that live stream, and now everybody keeps them in.
Maybe it's changed over the years, Joe.
Maybe it's changed. Maybe it's not conclusive. There's only 16 people playing along here.
Yeah.
Anyway, is it competition time? It's past.
No, not quite. Do you own a turkey baster?
Of course he does. He's a proper reefer.
I have got a turkey baster actually. I have.
There we go.
There you go.
I have.
Paul had one for the first time about 3 months ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't use it though.
God, come on, you must.
No, I don't.
I think they're good for if you've got any nuisance algae. 100% with rock. 100% really good at lifting that off.
Yeah, blasting your stand.
Yeah, really good. It's just a confusing look that you get on the woman's face in Tesco when you ask her for a turkey baster in like July.
Have you got a really long one? We can't just have the standard one.
Yeah.
I got mine off Amazon.
Okay.
It's always better.
These ones for 3 years. Right, we're going to do the competition. Whilst we're doing the competition, right. So what do you say? It's going to be. You have to put. What was it?
Was it only fins or something?
Fins, and I'm just putting it in the comments. Right, so we've got the competition, or the giveaway, shall I say, which is the All for Reef liquid. What you got to do is put into the comments only fins and fish lips. If you put that into the comments, your entry will go in. And whilst I'm looking at who goes into the entry.
Yeah.
Oh dear. We can talk about Tom and his fish.
Oh really? Okay. Spotlight.
Oh no, this is. I've got a bad feeling about this bit.
We're all right. It's been a bit up and down. Obviously, after last week's stream, the plan was to bring the purple and yellowing thing next. I think. So after the last week's stream, me and Kaz, the missus, had a chat, and we were talking about it, and did a little bit of research. And really, I think as cheesy as this, well, it shouldn't sound cheesy. I think it depends on the temperament of the fish you want to introduce in terms of the behaviour, their attitude, are they aggressive, the semi-aggressive, the placid, etc. And from experience, the purple, she's very aggressive, or can be. So I'd got a fox face in the garage that was very timid. Again, as you said, Steve, camouflage, panic, So decided to bring the fox face in, and really weird. Last few days, really, because we brought the fox face in. I also decided, again, sounds a bit silly, but to bring another fish from the same system,
right?
Just so it had got another fish that it was familiar with, if that makes any sense.
Yes, that makes sense.
Kind of get where I'm coming from, yeah.
Yeah.
So a bit of a double date. So I decided to bring the fox face in and the orange shoulder. And I'll tell you something. When I caught that orange shoulder crash, you thought I'd caught a koi carp. It was making a right commotion in the garage. Wow. Put them both. So yeah, the sailfin and the Copperband went in last Friday, and then I thought, well, I want to give them time to settle, but I don't want to give them too much to become sort of,
territorial.
Yeah, and dominant and all that sort of thing. So on Sunday, they'd gone from being at the back of the tank to feeding and coming out. So I put the orange shoulder and the fox facing on Sunday. And again, they took a couple of days, but I also put my clowns in as well at the same time. And it was really weird because you can't really see, but that side of the tank, so my right side tank, the orange, I was saying to Paul on Instagram, something that I've never seen happen before, the orange shoulder started picking up pieces of the gravel in its mouth and moving them to the other end of the tank. And it literally carved like a little sort of bed. Yeah. Honestly, after only a few hours of being in the tank, almost as if to say, thanks for upgrade, but I'm not quite happy where the bed is, sort of conversation, sort of thing.
I'm just going to make it home for me.
Never seen anything like it. And at first I thought it was just a one-off. And he just kept doing it. Literally kept moving it. A little bit like a goby sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then I thought, oh, well, it's making a nest for itself. And then that night, and every night following that, for the last sort of 4 or 5 nights, it's actually made the nest for the fox face, not for itself. It's just bizarre.
Wow.
So the fox face
just like sits in it at night.
The fox face sleeps in a bed that the orange shoulder made for it, and they came from the same tank. It's just nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, that is unusual, isn't it?
Yeah, we've had a few. Again, I've not brought any more fishing because we've got the sailfins. There's a few signs of white spot. We've got some white spot in the tank, so I'm dosing it with the Polyplon Medic, which I'm a big fan of. Use it for years. It's always done me good. Stick to the rules. Just doing ammonia testing on it every day because obviously, it's like us when we get a bug. You've got to keep your fluids and keep eating and everything to keep your immune system up. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm feeding 4 or 5 times a day, little and often. Testing the ammonia on a morning before work just to make sure I've got no spikes. Fortunately, I've not put a lot more fish in there because obviously that might have had a detrimental effect. And I'm just gonna, like I kept saying to you on the other streams, if it means I have to go to two bottles of Polylab, then so be it. I'd rather have that expense than lose my fish. So I'm just gonna wait till, and I'm probably gonna get it again when I bring the next batch in. But I think it would be unfair for me to put that stress on these fish now that are fighting it now, or some of them more than others. I mean, the Copperband hasn't got a mark on him. He's had it and sort of shrugged it off. He's bulletproof to an 8 touch wood. But I just think it'd be unfair now to bring in a load more fish that, as strangers, let's be honest, and stress them out even more. There's no need. There's no need. And we were saying about the tank moving. I'm fortunate that all these other fish that come into the system are settled in the systems they're in now. So why rush it for another week? Let go through. I mean, we're on day 5 of the cycle's 10 into it. We're halfway through. So don't do a water change. And that again, the water change is relevant. Reflects on whether you're feeding too much or not. And you can't get, you've got an ammonia build-up. I haven't because I'm not feeding too much and I've got a bigger volume of water, filtration, etc. Because otherwise, if you start doing a water change, you're diluting the medication and you just create a load more problems for yourself. So it was bound to happen. Three groups of fish, three different types of water. It is, it sounds cheesy, but it's like, 3 people who've never met each other going into a room and one of them starts coughing. That's
that's basic. Yeah. Is this is white spot the one that's like? Is that the one that's present in nearly every tank, but is dormant kind of thing until fish get stressed?
It's a stress trigger.
Stress related, isn't it?
Stress trigger. And again, going back to what I was saying about the Copperband, and this again is just from not millions of years of experience, but what I've been in the hobby is fat fish, happy fish. Keep feeding them. So every time I'm going into the garage, because even though 3 months ago I knew I was moving them. Before the tank even turned up and the frame was delivered, I've been going in there and feed because I've got no coral, so I don't have to worry too much about nutrient load. I've been going in there and feeding them as much as I can, providing they're eating it, just to make sure that when I do move them, I've got, it's not going to be bulletproof, but I've got a much better chance of survival, which is what I've done. But like I said a minute ago, for me, it's the personalities and the aggressive, So the plan is really to put the most aggressive fish in last.
Yeah,
because then they're not going to be the ones that are going to do. Yeah. So the
white spot is the white spot, has it kind of died down? I don't really know too much about it. I guess it's white spots, obviously. Is it kind of depleting, or is it getting worse when you're observing it now?
No, I put the UV on yesterday, day before. Simply because I just wanted that peace of mind. I've got the
that should help.
Got it there. Yeah. It's not heating with it. It's not helping with the temperature because the ballasts of these UVs get rather warm, so that's having an effect. But again, they do say when you're fighting it, white spot to increase temperature anyway. So that's a
byproduct.
Byproduct. So I'm not really bothered right now. At the minute, all I want to know is the fish are healthy, they're feeding, and they're happy, and there's no dominancy issues. The Copperband, the sailfin and the foxface have exchanged words a few times, but there's 9 and a bit foot of glass to choose from, so they should be all right.
Yeah. So how much are you dosing of the polyp lab? Because I remember having the bottle on a 450, and obviously you've got 3.5 times the volume I had.
Well, you can go up to triple dosing. So at the minute it's 20 spoons twice a day, which sounds a bit excessive.
It's only the small spoons, though, isn't it?
Yeah. You can overdo it. It can be, it can have burnt fins. Is one of the dangers of it. But everybody's happy. I'll keep an eye on them on a daily basis. One of the advantages as well, believe it or not, is having the blue light on, because it helps you obviously be able to see it a lot more. When you've got it on daytime light, you don't tend to see it as much. So when in the morning when the lights are off, you're a little bit excited. You think that they're showing signs of recovery, but then it's at night or should I say the afternoon when the lights come on, that you start to see what effect is. But going back to my biggest point, if you again, like us human beings, if you're feeling down in the dumps and you don't start eating, and you feel it's going to take a lot longer for recovery, than if you start putting something down your neck and have fluids. So it's the same sort of concept in a way, as daft as it sounds. Absolutely. So keep the fish healthy, keep feeding them, and as long as you're not putting too much in and it's wasting and turning into ammonia, you shouldn't have any drama. Which is what I'm doing.
And with the polyp lab, if I remember rightly, you dose during dark hours, don't you? So you have to do it early in the morning when it's dark. And
so it says 12-hour period twice a day, 12-hour gap. So we're doing 10 in the morning, 10 at night, for example.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I used it worked well. But yeah, it's the feeding I found.
I was just going to ask how successful he was last time he had it.
I've used it a couple of times here, to be honest with you. I've used lots of different brands, and that one for me is it's been good. It's not full, it depends on. There's lots of different parameters, and again, I'm not a scientist, but there's lots of different things caveats to sort of think about when you're moving fish, especially fish that have been in different systems and they've not met each other for the first time. You are going to have outbreaks. For me, it was just a case of eliminating risk. I didn't really have the facility to quarantine fish like some people do in separate systems, copper, etc., etc. The fish were settled. They'd been there for years. They were feeding. They were healthy. There was no signs of disease, stress, etc. So that's why I've done it. But fortunately, again, going back to what I keep saying, I'm fortunate enough to not have to have thrown everybody in at the same time. And when I did that before, it went wrong.
Right.
And I didn't have a plan B or another system that I could separate or split them. Whereas now I have. So I put, what have I put in? I put, including the clowns, I put 6 fish in 400 litres of water. We're dealing with a problem. Let's wait till we've dealt with the problem before we add anything else. And if we get another problem, then we deal with that problem and before we add anything else.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. If you want an argument on Facebook or something like that, if you go on there and say, I've got white spot and I'm using polyp lab, the whole thing just explodes because you go into 2 camps. It's absolute rubbish, blah, blah, blah. And I went back to the person and said, have you used it before? No. Because it doesn't eradicate white spot from the tank. The only way you can do that is by taking the fish out and leaving it fallow. And even the number of days seems to be quite controversial when someone says 70 odd days and someone says longer and shorter. And I don't know, but it's the only way of curing it. But you can help eradicate it and make it disappear.
And that's why QT,
you're trying to do.
Yeah, and that's why quarantine tanks don't have any substrate in them, so they won't have a sand in them. So that's where it will literally reproduce itself. That's where it, from memory, that's where it you know, it thrives on a substrate.
Yeah.
So if you've got a
and
bare
it
bottom
needs a
tank,
host as well, doesn't it?
It needs
so
a
if
host,
you leave the tank fallow, then there's no host, there's no fish, therefore it will die off.
Just like the same as having flatworm and taking corals out. No different.
Yeah, true. They need a host, and that's what they host on or feed on, don't they? Absolutely.
Well, it's a much better story than I thought it was going to be, because I thought he'd lost a fish. So nice one, mate.
No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet, and hopefully not. I said that at the end. No, I said he hasn't. Hopefully he doesn't. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Again, you know, I keep repeating myself. It's just, for me, it's quite simple. It's keep them fat, keep them healthy, and keep the medication going in, and you know, that's it. Yeah. And keep monitoring them.
That's what we say to Jay. Keep them fat, keep the medication going.
Stay off the sunbed.
Yeah. Oh, bloody hell.
Right. Okay. So I think we've got everyone we're going to have on the Wheel of Fortune. Let me just bring it up and let people check their names. Make sure I haven't missed anyone like I did last week. Hopefully you can see that. There is a lag between me putting that on screen, so I have to leave it 30 seconds. Right, it's on screen now. People can see.
If you win, Paul's buying the house on the left-hand side.
Well, it's nice, isn't it? Yeah.
Nice little. What is shout?
Okay. Let's make sure everyone can see their names. So we'll just give it 10, 15 seconds.
Still not seeing mine.
Is Drippy's Reef on there? Last week's winner.
No, he's not. No.
Oh,
that
just shows.
He turns up, says hello, and then clears off.
Yeah, he'll be back and say, where is it? Right, he just press. Right, I'm going to press now because I haven't seen anyone say they're missing from it.
He's down the
best of luck.
Right.
There we go. And the winner is... Tekka's Reefer. So Tekka's,
congratulations.
Message me on Instagram and we will sort out a bottle of All for Reef. It's the liquid one for you. So congratulations.
Paul, John was on twice, so we had to do it again.
No, he wasn't.
He says he was. I just looked at the chat. No, Tekka's is the winner. He's the top.
Yeah, oh, hello. Look at that one.
I like that view. We look thinner.
Yeah.
You've been on a diet.
Nano.
That's a lot better, yeah. Slim version. Well done, Tekka's, mates.
Good one. Congratulations, and a few congratulations coming in.
Yeah.
So,
well done.
Excellent.
There's a lot of love in the community.
Absolutely.
Now everybody switches off. Nice one.
Yeah, we've gone down to free watching, and that's us.
Give us a thought. Give Fish Palace a thumbs up for his channel. Great.
Yeah, if you could give us a like, that would be
great. And a giveaway. You can't get a better Friday than that, can you?
No, I said to put one thing. I was curious to ask the audience though, however small it is right now, was obviously that orange shoulder shocked me because he's been in the system for years and never done anything like that. So I was just curious to know if anybody, have either of you ever had any fish that have done anything a little bit out of the ordinary? Because
not for another fish like that. No, I haven't. I don't think.
All jokes aside, because I had a jade wrasse in the quarantine system for years, and she was an absolute nightmare. If you put your hand in the tank, she would nick you every time and draw blood. Honestly, evil fish. And what a lot of people don't realize with wrasses is as they get bigger, you don't see them when they're smaller, but as they get to really big adolescent size, they've literally got pincers like fangs. And yeah, they
break through skin.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So what I used to do what I used to do when I was bringing a lot of acros in and a lot of different corals is obviously you're aware obviously of different types of crabs, etc. Good ones, bad ones, smooth skin, airy skin, etc. And rather than throw the teddy bears and gorilla crabs down the drain, I used to put them in the tank. Sounds a bit cruel, I know, but I'd never seen anything like it. She would literally hit them, and she would literally inhale them, crush them, spit them out, and then eat the meat out of it. It was unreal, like something I'd never seen before. Oh yeah.
So Mickey Boy's talking about breeding. I'm assuming that's breeding. A breeding thing due to changing water parameters. Don't know. So the only thing I've had that's...
Is that the white spot, is it? Yeah.
No, I think he must be talking about, is it the clown?
Oh, I don't know.
Sure. So I've had clownfish. They're quite aggressive, so it's not unusual for clown to attack you when you put your hands in. I've had wrasse before, where you got the MP40s. They just swim round and round the MP40s. I've had a couple of wrasse. So I think it was a Timor wrasse who didn't used to go into the sand. He just used to lay on top of the sand and sleep. Didn't go in at all. Another one where the head would be in the sand, but the rest of the body would be out. And you're thinking, well, that's no good. That's in the wild. You'd be eaten. Yeah, absolutely. It wouldn't be out the sand very long, would it? So, so I've had that. I'm trying to think anything else.
You've got the snail though, haven't you? That does you a little bit of a walks around your tank with all the zoas on it. I know it's not a fish, but
that's the urchin. Yeah, so the urchin's still got the what's it called? The Dayglow, the Volcano Dayglow Zoa, which is 80 quid a polyp. It's got it on its back, so it's an expensive urchin at the moment. And then I had a regal tang that would wedge itself in, and I'm sure it was either the regal or the vampire used to click as well. You'd hear it making the noise.
Well, my chromis do that. The ones that are coming here, they are very noisy. Very noisy. Yeah. I mean, the way I think one of the strangest things I had is the antheas when they're changing sex. And literally, like, you know, the male and female, you know, over a few days, a week or so, change sex. That's a little bit freaky. But I was just curious because I've never generally thought orange shoulder was literally saying, I'm going to make myself a bed and literally lay in it. And it made the bed for a different fish that ironically was in the same tank that it had been in. It was only fish that was in that tank that it came into this tank with, which I just thought was probably really, you know, I don't know, coincidental.
That's brilliant. That's why we have the tanks here, so you can watch them and watch live play out.
Weird. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
interesting, isn't it?
We had years ago. We had ironically, one of the first fish that I inherited from my mum, which was how I got in the hobby. How many years ago was a pink spot goby. Called him Spike, as in the bulldog off Tom and Jerry. Ironically, I don't know why we did, but we did because of how we used to sit at the bottom of the tank. And I can remember the first time we got a cleaner shrimp, and the cleaner shrimp went up to him, and he opened his mouth, and the cleaner shrimp went in, and I literally ran across the room because I thought he was going to eat the shrimp, you know. And again, it's like, you know, with cleaner shrimps, they shed the skin, don't they? And you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh my god. The shrimp's died, you know, and it's floating around.
Yeah, I know what you mean. With the fire shrimps.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
But then I've bought what did I buy then? Peppermints for Aptasia years ago.
Yeah.
A bit of a craze, peppermint shrimps. I think I went and bought half a dozen, you know, they weren't cheap. Put them in my tank, and I'd got a jade wrasse, a banana wrasse, and another wrasse.
Nice snack.
I just watched 70 pounds just disappear in front of my eyes. But it's nature. It's nature at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's nature. You got to
realise.
But it's understand that balance again, what you can keep and what you can't keep with.
Definitely.
With different fish.
Definitely.
Yeah, because the one tank I can't put shrimps in, or peppermint, is a tank that I've had wrasse in. I've got wrasse in. Yeah. Because there's a good chance it'll just go. Whereas the other two tanks, it's fine. So it's understanding all that, what works with what and what definitely doesn't go. That's why it's interesting the BRS TV when they're going to put the chromis in.
That grouper.
With the grouper, and you're thinking in the sea is one thing. Those chromis have got nowhere to go after 12 foot or 6 foot or whatever it is. I'm not convinced about
that group is going to be like one of these Chinese guys in these fish restaurants where they just go and pick what they're having for the tea and catch it. I want that one.
Absolutely. I'm just not convinced that's going to work.
Yeah.
That's when, you know, similarities between tanks and the oceans. But as you were saying earlier, I think that's where it ends on that one. But I may be wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a little bit soft in head with things like that. I mean, you know, I don't feed live food because, again, I don't know. So, I mean, I would research. We were talking about last stream about Copperband and stuff, and I'm going to start trying to I'm going to have a go at cultivating them in the garage. I've watched a few YouTube videos. It doesn't look too difficult, to be fair. So I'm going to change the water and make sure it's got an air stone in it. But there's also a lot of videos about making your own brine shrimp. You know, again.
So I've done baby brine shrimp as well.
Have you?
Yeah. So basically, what I did was the big packs of water you get from Costco, took the small bottles, cut the bottom off, turn it upside down. Right. And then I actually had, I mean, it's no good for your tank, but small bottles like that, I used to put them at the back of the tanks. The light from the tank would be on them. And air stone in either one of them. And then you just buy the eggs, and every 48 hours. So basically, I had it when I was, when I had to fry the cardinals. So basically, the reason for 2 bottles is 48 hours. Every 48 hours, and so every day I had the brine shrimp, and I was just feeding the cardinals with it. Wow. It's so easy to do because you got the heat from the tank, you got the light from the tank,
and they feed on algae. Sorry, don't they?
I didn't feed them anything.
Did you not?
I just got tank. I just used fresh tank water, fresh salt water, should I say? And then you put the eggs in, and then it wasn't even an air stone; it was just an air pump. A dual air pump. I just put the pipes at the bottom of it, and every 48 hours I just used to harvest that, cultivate that bottle, and then that was it. And I must have done that for a good 3 or 4 months. So
I'm looking forward to trying phytoplankton in the garage when I've got corals in this tank. That's definitely something I'm going to try and do myself. 100%.
Yeah. So I've done copepods and rotifers as well, because I tried to raise clownfish, but I only got the fry to no more than 5 days, and I used to run out of rotifers, and if I didn't have, there was an ammonia spike, and I just didn't have the time because I was feeding all the time, cleaning all the bottom out, and you just have an ammonia spike. That was what I said
earlier about the Copperband though, with the brine, and again, we're all learning, but obviously John seems to know a bit about his Copperbands. Is that traditionally, when I've got a full settled system, I don't just feed one type of food. I mean, obviously, I'm going into mixing my own. I'm not going to mix my own yet because it's a new system and I don't want to stress the fish changing the diet. But I'd put a little bit of krillin, a bit of mysis, a bit of brine shit, bit of this, that, and the other. But I wonder how many people struggle with Copperbands, just as an example, hypothetically, because they're probably feeding the wrong food or a mixture of foods that hasn't had enough of that food in it that the Copperband wants, is what I'm saying. Because I was worried when I put him in that he wasn't touching a thing, and it wasn't until it dawned on me that I could just see that the particle was a lot bigger. But I put the brine in. As soon as I put the brine in, he was just like, he got his knife and fork out and went to town. Does that make any sense what I'm saying? Do you know what I mean?
It does. And I think if you the baby brine, because 48 hours, that's when they're at the most, I think, most nutritional. So you've had live foods in there. He's got a constant feed all of the time, and probably the tangs won't touch it because the food will be too small. Baby brine. I don't think they'll touch the baby brine.
One of the things a lot of people use as well with them is it's the mastic, isn't it? They put in the glass.
Yes. Yeah, or they put it in the rock work, so the Copperband can get to it, but the other fish can't. So I've seen that as well. They've got blackworms, good for Copperbands. Good to try live food first. Yeah, all that works. That's quite well. Right, we're coming towards the end. So there was a couple of comments about characteristics of fish. Where are they? Where is it? I've missed it. There you go. Wondering if the tang is caught in the fox face due to colour thing. It's the same. The past week, my firefish and royal grandma have been inseparable.
But it just goes to show, doesn't it? Though they were in that tank for years, and they got moved to a different tank with other fish in it that were also together, and then they obviously stuck together. Is all I'm saying. It's just there's a lot more there than we appreciate in all these. All I'm saying.
Absolutely. Yeah, different environments. They're familiar with one another. So it's a fair point.
I think there's very complex relationships between all the creatures in the reef, isn't there? And they kind of
I noticed that the fox face had got some leggings on, so it must have been that.
That's a different characteristic.
Even in a little nano like mine, I know they all have like little zones that they swim around regular in, and then the others won't really go into that unless like maybe it's feeding time. Then it's like free for all on the boundaries. But then when it's not feeding, they all tend to stick in their own little zones. If they're doing mine anyway, I assume that's the same for most times.
They do. When you've got fish that are territorial, they do stick to certain areas. Absolutely.
One thing I've tried to transport from the garage to here is feeding them in the same place in the tank, as daft as that sounds.
Oh, right.
So, which again, there might not be any science to it. It might just be habit, but all the fish are used to being fed top right hand corner.
Yeah.
So that's where I feed, and I'm hoping that there's an instinct. There's an instinct there that tells them that that's where they get fed, especially if there's anybody that's a bit finicky. So I've just let it be a new system. I've just started feeding top right hand corner so they get used to it. And to be fair, they've been in there a week now, and they are. When you walk to the front corner of the tank, where that mitred corner is, they straight away they think they're getting fed. So touch wood, we touch wood, we're on the right path.
Sounds good. Right, we are out of time. So thank you very much to everyone in the chat participating in the polls and also in the giveaway. I know there's a poll for next week. Do you rinse your frozen food? We won't answer that now. That'll be
I'll say Steve.
Right, so Steve is hosting next week. We'll have to say to him he's got a prep to be able to do a poll, because it'll just be funny watching him do the poll.
They won't be able to do it.
No,
did I get given?
But you never know. You never know.
Anyway, posted that in the group. So
thank you much, everyone. Tom, thank you very much.
Joe, you're welcome.
Enjoyed it.
Everyone, have a great weekend, and
good weekend, everybody.
See you next week. So bye for now.